Hey guys, this is Regina with Inspire. And as you can see, we're wrapping up today's edit. This show, I know you're going to be encouraged and inspired. It's a story about a lady whose name is Valerie Burton, who suffered with stage 4 cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and survived. Her story is incredible. We're gonna show the short edit, but if you want to, you can watch it on YouTube and get the full story. What I want to say today is that you don't want to miss it. So don't go anywhere. Hang out right here with us. We'll be right back with Inspire.
So you know what? I want to start at the beginning, before I was actually diagnosed, because I think that's really important. Because the cancer that I had stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's called mycosis fungoides, and nobody's ever heard of that. I hadn't until they diagnosed me with it. But and that was in 2002, I was diagnosed. But before that, I was sick for 2.5 years.
I read that in the notes.
Yes, this started out as a little rash on my back.
Wow.
It was about maybe the size of a nickel. So it's just really small rash on my back. I thought it was a ringworm or something. I just didn't know what it was, but it was itchy.
Okay.
So I went to a dermatologist right there in Bryan, where we were living, and he said, "Oh yeah," he looked at it. He said, "Oh yeah, you have psoriasis or eczema, is one of those. It's no big deal." He gave me a prescription, some kind of cream. He said, "Do this for a couple of weeks and it should go away." And so at this appointment, there was no biopsy, none of that. He just looked at it and said, "Oh, I've seen this a million times.
Right.
Psoriasis or eczema, put this on there and you're good to go." About 2 weeks later, it was worse. It was spreading down my back.
Really?
And said, okay, I was applying the cream, I was doing all the stuff, and still, and I think at nighttime was the worst, I was itching like crazy. So I went back and I said, "Hey, it's not working. Matter of fact, it's worse." And so he said, "Oh, no worries. We'll just switch the cream. Everything will be fine." This went on for a couple of months until a rash was all over my back. My whole back was covered, and it was going down my legs.
Okay, so hold up one second. At no point in time from when you went to like a couple of months later, did they do a skin biopsy? No scrapes, no nothing. So this thing is just getting worse.
It's getting worse.
Okay, all right.
And I didn't even think to ask, "Why aren't you doing a biopsy?" I mean, the doctor, he's been practicing for years and years, and he knows what he's talking about, right?
Right.
I went through the same thing with the second dermatologist, and eventually I stopped going to her. And I said, okay.
And still no biopsy.
Still no biopsy. Rash is now on my arms. It's moved to the front of my body. My torso is covered with the rash now. My legs are involved. I'm no longer sleeping. I'm just, when I did fall asleep, I was literally scratching in my sleep.
Wow.
And Willie started to tell me, let's put some socks on at nighttime because you're scratching yourself until you bleed in your sleep.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. Dermatologist number 3.
Okay.
This was a weird story. Someone recommended a well-known dermatologist to me in Houston.
Okay.
And scheduled this appointment with this man. I get there and they tell me he passed away. And so now I was going to be seen by people who were going to be just filling in for him until they got a permanent person to replace it. Yes. So same thing. Hey, you have psoriasis or eczema. We've seen this a million times.
And no biopsy.
Get this under control. No, ma'am, no biopsy.
Okay,
so,
well, we're going to fast forward. So
fast forward.
When did someone finally decide to do a biopsy on this rash?
Willie suggested I go to UTMB in Galveston. So his family, lots of them have sickle cell. and that's where they've always gone for treatments.
Okay.
So he said, you know what, let's just go down there. My family's always gone there. They've taken care of my siblings, and let's just go there because I feel like I'm literally just watching you die.
Wow, it was to that point.
None of this stuff is helping. We're buying all this medication.
Right.
Yeah. So we get to UTMB. I'm trying to think of the January 3rd, 2002. We went to UTMB.
Okay.
I'm in the room waiting on the doctor. She walks in. She says, "How long?" She just looks at me. She says, "How long have these tumors been all over you?"
Wait a minute. Tumors.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute. No, I have a rash. I have psoriasis.
Exactly.
And, what do you mean tumors?
Tumors. They had started to show up like in my eyebrows. There were little lumps here, and they had started to come out in my forehead. And she says, "How long have these tumors?" I said, "What do you mean tumors? What, just that word. I know what that is."
Right. So did you not notice that you were developing these bumps, or did you think it was a part of the rash?
I thought it was just this rash. I didn't know what was happening. I really didn't.
Okay.
I felt horrible. I looked horrible, and I just didn't know what was happening. I mean, I'm under the care of 3 different doctors, and
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she did a biopsy. She said, "I know what this is, but I'm going to do a biopsy, and I'm going to call you tomorrow and tell you what stage this cancer is."
Stop.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Okay, so, all right, we're going to pause right there just for a second. So she's just telling you, okay, this is cancer. This is cancer. She's not taking you down the path of psoriasis or any of those things. This is cancer. She knew what it was when she saw it. And so you leave there, like, are you... You're freaking out. Yeah, definitely.
That's the best way I can describe it. She has said cancer to me, and she said, "I'll call you tomorrow." Okay. And she did. She called me the next day, and she said, "Hey, you're in the last stage of this thing.
So you're in stage 4.
Stage 4, and you need to get to MD Anderson as quickly as you can."
Wow. So you go from there, and you find out you have stage 4. Wow. So
they diagnosed me in stage 1 when that little bitty rash was on my back. They could have treated this with a topical cream, and that would have been it.
Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. But you know what? Who thinks to ask, for a biopsy? And probably if you ask for one at the dermatologist, he probably think you're crazy.
Right.
No, I've seen this. But that's something right there that really, those of you that are watching, that you're listening, when you have something strange that pops up on your body, don't just kind of go with what the norms could be. And I know a lot of times we don't want to look like we're over the top, like, oh my goodness, it's just a rash, please, lady. I had a similar ordeal like that kind of took a while for them to kind of nail it down. And I just didn't know the right questions to ask. And I think that's important, that you know your body, and that you're brave enough to be your own advocate and ask questions about what's going on. And you can ask for tests to be done. So go ahead. So they diagnosed you have stage 4 cancer that could have been dealt with truly with an ointment on that one little spot, that now you're in stage 4. How many months later?
Oh gosh, 2.5 years.
2.5 years, okay.
2.5 years I was diagnosed.
By the time you get the diagnosis, the report's pretty grim. And if I'm correct, was it MD Anderson that gave you only 2 months to live?
That's right.
Yeah.
My first appointment.
First appointment.
And that whole thing is just another miracle, how God even worked all that out. Gosh, Willie, in the middle of all this, Willie lost his job. Mm-hmm. And so we're thinking that's the worst thing that could happen here. God, what is happening? Now we don't have insurance.
Wow.
Now, how are we going to go to MD Anderson and have this, treated? What's the deal? Right. So, but God.
Yeah.
God works in such a way that we just will never understand, but it was amazing.
My God.
So initially just calling MD Anderson, trying to set up that first appointment, I was notified I would have to have $2,500 just to see the doctor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just to see. And I said, well, he doesn't have a job. How is this work? And so they were kind of telling me, hey, you might not even want to come up here because you have to have $2,500. You're going to have this cash for her to see.
Wow.
So at this point, though, Willie tells MD Anderson, hey, look, I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is I'm bringing my wife down there, and you guys are going to see her.
Oh, I like Willie already. Way to go, Willie. I don't have $2,500. I don't know what y'all gonna do, but I'm taking my wife. We'll be there.
But she's going to be seen.
I know that's right. That's
right. What he told them.
Oh,
so he said, so you schedule her appointment.
Schedule her or
and we're coming.
Right, we're on our way.
Yeah.
Amen.
So, but then even with that, they tell me, well, the only doctor here who can see you, she is an expert with mycosis fungoides. She's traveling out of the country lecturing on mycosis fungoides at the moment, and she won't be back here for another month. So at that point, I had to sit. I found out on January 4th, and I had to wait until February 5th for my first appointment. So I had to sit home knowing I had stage 4 cancer for a whole month.
No treatment, just knowing you're like in the last stages of cancer and you can't be seen.
And wow. God just kept me.
Yes, he did. What were those days like, Valerie? Like, are you sitting there and you knowing, that you need God to show up? Yeah. We have like those little, like, I love talking about like those fluffy kind of prayers, but then there are those prayers that are life-sustaining prayers, that moment with God, like every day, to just show up the next day. And so, what was that like? I dare not ask you, were you afraid? Because I'm sure there was some fear, but...
You know what? When I was first diagnosed, I was devastated.
Yeah.
My kids were 9 and 7 years old.
7 years old, yeah.
I had just turned 30 years old in November, and in January they give me this news. And so it was devastating, but I had a lot of family and friends coming to see me and praying for me, and they walked this out with me.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I'm trying to figure out when, between the time I was diagnosed and the time I went to the hospital.
Right.
I wasn't leaving my house much because the tumors kept coming out. You've seen the pictures where the tumors were all over even my ears, and just my whole body was covered with tumors. So I wasn't really in the house.
Right.
But one Sunday, we decided to get up and go to church. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't think anybody had invited us. We just decided to go.
I'm going to church.
We went. We decided to go. And I joke about this because, but it really happened like this. I walked into the church and it seems like every head turned all at the same time and just looked at me because I probably looked like a monster.
Right.
And, some people actually didn't recognize me.
Oh, my goodness, Val.
They didn't recognize me. It was that bad. The tumors were just, my face was kind of deformed at that point.
I saw the pictures. You were on the other side of this when I met you. And so when you showed the pictures, I was like, what in the world? What happened? And then I read your story. Well, I knew who it was, but I was just like, oh my goodness, when did this happen? Because you're so beautiful now, and I've seen you in person. And so to think about where you were and where you are, if you weren't telling a story, or people that didn't know you, they would say that's impossible for you to have come from that place to where you are now. Yeah.
It's quite a journey.
Yeah. Yeah. So you go to church, they're looking at you. What do you want to stay? Do you want to leave?
Well, you know what? I just figured I would go in and just sit and be really quiet and just, sit in the back. We sat in the back, so, I wouldn't disrupt service. And so during service, though, I think this is, I really want everybody to get this. During the service, and the pastor hadn't seen me, okay? So he's preaching. I don't know, there were probably a few hundred people in the church.
Right.
And he suddenly stops during his sermon.
Wow.
He said, wait a minute, God wants to heal somebody here right now. He said, there's somebody here.
Wow. Yeah. You were on God's radar. Yeah, you are.
He said, there's somebody here, and God wants to heal you right now, and you need to come up here. And again, I think every head in the
They turned around and looked at you. I think that might be your word.
he has to be
I think
talking
that might
about
be for you, ma'am. Oh my God. Yes.
I knew he was talking about me. So I grabbed Willie's hand and I said, you got to go with me.
Yeah.
We went to the front. And
You're that one. You're that one the pastor's not looking for, though. We're talking about the one. No, that was not you. You go back. If I didn't have faith, it just got real jacked up right there. Yeah.
So at the altar, they anointed me with oil, and they prayed for me.
Come on.
And with everything in me, I knew God healed me in that moment.
In that moment, my God.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I didn't feel good. All of a sudden, the tumors didn't suddenly shrink. My skin wasn't suddenly beautiful. I looked the same. I felt the same, but I knew I was healed. I knew I was healed. And nobody could tell me different from that moment on. So then when I finally got to MD Anderson that morning.
Let's stop there for a second. When you said, I knew. There was no evidence that I was healed. I didn't look any different than when I went in there. I think someone needs to hear that. You're holding on by faith. You're looking at an impossible situation with man. And so it's important that you hear what she just said. It didn't look like she was healed. It didn't look like, she had received anything from God. But you knew down in yourself that God had showed up for you.
I knew it.
Yeah, I know exactly what that's like. Yeah, I do.
So we're at MD Anderson, still with no $2,500.
Yeah, that $2,500 is out. MD Anderson can hang that one up.
We show up just with our faith. And we met with a woman that morning. I tell you, God had it all
mapped out,
lined up. It was just all set up.
Yeah.
And we met with a woman that morning, and she said, tell me your situation. And so I told her all of this. I told her about his job loss. I told her everything. And she looked at me and she said, you will be seen today.
Oh,
I don't know what I need to do or who I need to talk to.
Yeah.
You're not leaving here without being seen.
Yeah.
I said, well, my husband already told y'all that.
Right.
And I tell you, at about 15 minutes before my appointment time, that same woman came and found me, and she said, you have been approved for 100% financial assistance through MD Anderson. You will never have to pay a dime for treatments, and every prescription you'll only have to pay like $3.
Wow.
For the entire time that you're treated here, you won't have to pay a dime.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So you go, the lady, the one that you need to see, she shows up, right? You meet with her, and how does that go?
I met with her, and they started immediately just putting me through all these tests. They did everything. I met with maybe 3 or 4 doctors that day, and so I think we stayed at MD Anderson probably 6-7 hours that day. And at the end of the day, I'm talking with her, and I says, well, what do you think? I said, what am I going to have to go through? Chemo, radiation? What all are we going to do?
The
and
whole
she looked at me and she said, Ms. Burton, we're going to try and keep you alive for the 2 months.
Valerie, and like,
And
was your face still holding?
I still knew what I knew.
There you go.
I looked at her and I said, you do all that you know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
And God is going to do the rest because he already healed me.
Yes.
I said, this is not going to kill me.
Yeah.
So you do all that you know how to do, and God's going to do the rest.
Right. My
Thought
God.
I was in denial.
Of course, because everyone is that says that. I know they kind of give you that little pat on the shoulder. That's so sweet. Yeah.
So now was the time to schedule someone at the hospital for me to talk to.
Right. Because you are clearly in denial. Yeah, I know. Right. Yeah.
Right. So that I can accept this, and all that.
Right.
I told her, I said, I'm not in denial. I just know what I know.
Yeah.
I'm not dying.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning. That was the beginning of chemo,
Mm-hmm.
total body radiation, and a stem cell transplant. And all these things took place from 2002 to 2007.
Wow.
2007, I walked out of MD Anderson cancer-free.
Rung the bell. Yeah, wow. And so that was give me the dates again.
So I was diagnosed in January of 2002.
In 2002, and then you walked out in
2007, I walked out.
2007.
Cancer-free.
Okay, so we would like to say that was the end of the journey, but it wasn't. There were more things waiting around the corner for you to have to deal with. I think it's important that people know that, it's like, okay, God, you said that you had this, and I'm walking out and I'm cancer-free and I rung the bell, and then here we go again. How long after this? And it's not the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing. Mm-mm. Not the same cancer. That was 2007. So 2010, I found a lump in my breast.
Okay.
And at that point, and I think it's important for me to mention too, let me see, I want to say this right. When I was diagnosed with the mycosis fungoides in 2002, I was not serving the Lord.
Okay.
I had started going to a Bible study, at that time, or before that.
All right.
And but I was still very much out in the world.
Right.
Say that I was still very much out in the world.
Right.
I really.
Right.
And so then after I went through all of that, and mind you, I think it's important to say, even when I was going through all of that, and God was healing me and with me. During those treatments at MD Anderson, they came to me at least 2 more times and said, hey, you have an infection that's so bad that you think you might need to call your family because you might not recover. You might die from this infection. Right. And still, though, I was wrestling. I wanted to serve the Lord, but I was still struggling out in the world. I was struggling. I was still out in the world.
Wow.
And even through all of that, even how good he's been to me.
I think that's important because the people that watch the show, not everybody, I don't hide the fact that I'm a Christian, and that I love the Lord. That I think it's important that I lead out with that. I don't try to shove it down anyone's throat because I know that there are different people with different walks of life that watch, that watch Inspire. The goal is that when we know the truth and we know what works, that we have to say that. But I think that one of the key points that you're making is that people think in order to get a response from God, you've got to be perfect. You've got to be doing all of the right things. Girl, you're going to make me start crying. You got to have all your T's crossed, all your I's dotted. And just hearing you say that, it shows like the mercy and love that God really has for his people. He's not angry, ready to like hit you over the head with a hammer and say, oh, you weren't serving me, now you're in a ditch. Don't come talking to me. He doesn't operate like that. So I think it's important. I'm glad you're sharing that.
It is. He drew me with his goodness.
Yeah.
Even when I wasn't.
Yeah.
He still was pursuing me.
It was the love he was showing you that drew you to him in the middle of your storm. And so, wow, I hope someone's listening to that who has never tried the Lord and feel guilty because their circumstances are chaotic or they're in the middle of a battle, of a life time. And so for you to say that, I think it really shines light on really the true nature and character of God. That he loves us, and he fights for us.
So here we are in 2010. I found my breast. I wasn't at a doctor's appointment. I didn't go have a mammogram or anything. It was just a self-exam in the shower, and I find the lump.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, now we got to deal with this. What do I want to say? I wasn't afraid. I just
didn't want to do it again.
I just wasn't afraid.
Yeah.
I think I might have been angry. Like, wait a minute,
Right.
devil, you're not trying to attack me again with this same stuff. But fear never was a part of it. I still knew I wasn't going to die from cancer. That never was. It never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
So this is when the woman who is now my spiritual mother came into my life.
Awesome.
So I'm getting ready for this surgery. My doctor suggested, you know what, let's go in there and remove this thing, and then we'll make a plan after that. Let's remove the lump. Okay, fine. We scheduled that for December 27th, 2010.
You're all about interrupting Christmas, aren't you?
Yeah, right.
Kids just traumatized whenever it's Christmas time. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So Christmas Day, 2 days before my surgery, we get together. I have a huge family, so we all got together at my little sister's house. And this wonderful woman of God, who was my sister's spiritual mom already, was invited over too, and that's where I met her.
Wow.
And so we had a great time. At the end of the day, this woman gets us all together. We all were in this living room holding hands. She said, I want to pray over this family because I've just had a great time. She prayed for us. And at the end of that, I said, I think I should get this lady to pray for me. She has no idea about the lump that I'm about to go through this, my testimony, all that. So Willie and I dragged her to a back room and said, hey, I'm having surgery in 2 days.
Right.
And I explained the whole thing, and she says, oh, okay, let me pray for you right now.
Right.
She prayed.
Right.
At the end of this prayer, she said, you know what? When you go in on Monday, I want you to ask that doctor to do one more test because God just healed you.
Oh,
He took it away, and you won't have to have surgery on Monday.
wow.
I said, okay, thanks, nice lady.
Right.
I just didn't believe
that
that
was so.
It was just really casual, So I thought, okay, yeah. And
But you did it, right?
I went for surgery.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't ask him to do another test. I didn't ask him.
Okay.
I went for surgery. Monday morning,
Right.
the 27th, I went for surgery.
Right.
And so they've prepped me. I'm laying on the table, and he comes in. He says, hey, I'm going to make a little mark where I'm going to make my incision in a little while. And so I'm just going to palpate a little bit. And so I'm going to find it. And same doctor who had found it before, he said, yeah, it's there. We got to do this. And
Right.
he starts feeling around for this tumor. He couldn't find it.
Oh my goodness.
He couldn't find it. He calls his nurse over. He says, hey, am I on the wrong side here? Help me find this lump that we both felt last week. Help me find this lump. So they had to do another test, and
Right.
it was gone. It was gone. God took it away.
Wow.
Just like you.
Wow. My goodness.
So that was the second time. That was, and so the first time I was treated, right? I went through all these treatments.
Right. And God showed up.
Had a stem cell transplant.
Right.
Healed.
Right.
The second time, it was miraculous. The second time he did it just like that, when she prayed.
But both times he showed up for you.
Both times.
Both times. Both times.
Both times.
But it didn't end there.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Fast forward to 2015.
Okay.
So I'm out working with my husband, and one night I just couldn't breathe.
Okay.
Just all of a sudden, I just was exhausted. Couldn't catch my breath, just nothing. And we're in this building, and I didn't know where he was. I mean, I couldn't shout. I couldn't call him, just nothing. And so I started praying. I said, Lord, let him find me. Let him find me before it's too late, because I just couldn't catch my breath.
Now your relationship with God now is totally different than
yeah,
what it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. In 2002, it's totally different than what it was. Right. Okay.
So 2011.
Okay.
God. February 26, 2011.
Wow.
I was invited. We just happened to visit a church. Someone invited me. Decided to go, and they were getting ready to have an Encounter God weekend. And and I had no idea that two really good friends attended that church. And so when I first time there, they were like, "Hey, we're getting ready for this Encounter God weekend, and you should really go with us." And I didn't really want to go, so they just kept after me. You should really go. It's going to be just like a girls' weekend. We're going to have a great time. Just come and see what happens.
Right.
So I went, and it's a 3-day thing. I started on Friday, and it lasted till Sunday morning.
Right.
And Saturday, we all came together in a huge fellowship area, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
Is that when you made your commitment? Like, okay, he's been so good to me. I'm making this commitment now to follow him.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But it was. I didn't go thinking that at all. I went there just for the weekend, just for the girls' weekend, just for the getaway. And I had no intentions of changing anything in my life. Wow. I was still partying all the time.
Wait a minute, Val, wait. You still God is steady delivering you. You're all in the natural, like you should have been, out of here like a few times, and you still out there. I think that's
partying
important.
Every chance I got, I was
really. Were you afraid to make that commitment? Did you feel like you didn't need him? Well, you didn't feel like it was necessary?
I was just in love with what I was doing in the world.
In love with what you were doing. My goodness, that's good.
And I didn't think there was a thing wrong with it, because I was happy. I thought I was happy.
Wow, that's good.
I was having a good time. I really was. I was having a good time. Wow. And no intentions of changing. Even, I was just going to get away for the weekend.
Wow. And he met you there.
It was a setup. He met me there. It was a setup. I still can't describe what happened to me, because the room, there had to be over 100 women in that room. But all of a sudden, there was just me and God.
Yeah.
It's like I couldn't hear anything else going on. I was over here watching what was happening with everybody else, but having my own experience over here with God. I felt like he literally had come behind me and just had his arms around me.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I had an encounter with God.
Wow.
And my life has never been the same since that moment.
So we go from that. I got to move forward just a little bit, but we go from that. You experiencing God in this very real way. You have been experiencing him, like even from the very moment when you were first diagnosed with cancer. He's been right there, right by your side. So we get through all of that. We're here now in 11, and you just made it through something else in 10.
Right.
Right? Okay, so here we are in 11. We get to what, 15?
15, 2015.
And
I can't breathe.
Right.
Willie he finds me. He takes me to the hospital,
Uh-huh.
and they diagnosed me with pneumonia. They said, hey, you have pneumonia. You're going to be fine. They gave me meds, and they sent me home the same night.
Okay.
And so the next day, though, that same doctor called me
Uh-huh.
and said, hey, I saw you in the emergency room last night. I said,
Right.
yeah, okay. I said, yeah, I have pneumonia, and I'm taking the meds. And
Right.
he says, yeah, but we saw something else too.
Okay.
I said, okay, well, what are you talking about? He says, well, he starts saying nodules. He said, we saw 3 nodules in your right lung. And, I'm like, okay, what's that?
Right,
what's the nodule? Why are you?
Right.
And he didn't want to tell me. He kept beating around the bush. He says, well, and I finally said, look, what's wrong?
So do you think you had lung cancer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said, what is this? And he says, ma'am, these are 3 tumors in your right lung.
Mm.
So, and at this point, I started laughing, and I did.
With the doctor on the phone?
Yes, yes. I said, I'm not worried about lung cancer. So
Right.
I started telling him my testimony. I started telling him
about what has happened.
God had already done for me.
Right.
So don't be sad for me. Don't be concerned. I'm going to be fine.
He really probably thought you were crazy.
He did. He's like, man.
Like she's in denial on a whole nother level.
I'm talking about tumors in your lungs.
Right,
okay.
Right.
And I said, he says, just go see your doctor and all that. And I did. I made the appointment with the doctor. I see her.
Right.
And same thing. She's like, given your history, this and this and this and this and this, and we have to put you into treatments as soon as possible.
Right.
And, all I could do was tell her my testimony.
Right.
I said,
right.
Look, I said, this is what God has done for me, and this is who God is to me in my life, and He's a healer. So I said, she says, no, but I really need to get you into treatment. So I struck a deal with her. I said, look, okay. I said, let's do this. I said, let me go home and pray about this. Okay. Let me call my other praying friends and family and let us pray about it before we start talking about treatments and all that. And let's see what God wants to do.
I think I actually remember this. This I do think I do remember. Because it wasn't that long ago. I think I do remember this. And God, He heals you from this also.
He sure did. That's what we did. We prayed. I told her to give me a month. I asked her to give me a month. And she says, okay, well, when you come back in a month, they have gotten bigger, changed shape. Well, any of that, we're going to need to start treating you.
Right.
I said, okay, deal. I went back in a month. They weren't there.
They were gone. Wow.
They were gone.
Valerie, why you? Why you?
I have asked that a million times. God, why do I keep going through this? What is, and you know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do know God just wants us to believe Him and take Him at His word.
Wow.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
He wants us to believe, take Him at His word.
Wow.
He is the. Wow. I don't know why things keep happening, but I know what to do
when they happen. Yeah. So it doesn't really throw you completely off when you hear these reports, and to stand. I remember my husband making a statement to me one day. He goes, you're going to die of something, but it will not be sickness. It will not be, it won't be disease, because I tell you what, you name it, it has come through. And, but God has been so faithful. But that's the question, like, well, why you? Because when people hear this, they'll say, oh, it's because she was so good, or, that He delivers her out of this. Whenever she's under attack or she goes through these things, it's because she's such an incredible Christian and she was loving on God. And you're like going, no, I was partying. I was partying, and that was not my story. Right. But God was patient and loving and kind and merciful to bring you to this place. Even
with, I wanted to talk about the side effects of the.
Yeah, that's where I was headed. Go ahead.
because the next thing that I want to tell you about is because of the treatments. So avascular necrosis. When I got, as a matter of fact, it started happening the weekend I got saved, that February 26th in 2011, my hip started hurting at the meeting.
Now, this is happening from your original diagnosis. This is from the
Right.
stem cell transplant. Is that what it's
from the actual, they treated me with steroids.
Okay.
That was a part of my treatment plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that causes bone death in your joints.
Steroids?
Steroids.
Really?
Yes, it's hard to explain, but that's the gist of it. It caused the bone in my hip socket to die.
Is that normal? I've never heard that before. Not that I've heard everything, but that's
It happens a lot.
Really?
It happens a lot. Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
It happens. Yeah.
Wow.
I
Okay,
didn't know either.
so that happens, and
That happened. My hip just started hurting, and I just kind of blew it off. I thought I'd just been going up and down the stairs too much that weekend.
Right.
Turns out the other hip started hurting too a couple of months later. So badly that I finally went to the doctor, and she said, no, you have avascular necrosis. And so they explained all that to me, and they explained that it was only going to get worse. This is not something that it doesn't get better. There's no reversing this once it starts to happen.
Well, does it spread into your bones or just in the hip?
In the joints.
Just
but
in the joints. All joints?
Any of them could be. Like right now, it's in my shoulders.
Really?
And they want me to have my shoulders replaced, but I am not. So
the rate you're going, you might as well not got to heal them.
that's the way I figure it.
Yeah, right.
So it's in my hips, and they tell me that's the only option. And I told them no to that too. I said, I'm not getting my hips replaced. I'm much too young. I'm not doing that. And they said, okay, when the pain gets to be so much that you can't take it anymore, come back and see us and we'll replace your hip. And it did.
Yeah. So they knew you were coming back. Yeah.
They knew I was coming back.
Oh, yeah.
I waited 4 years, and I went back and said, okay, let's do this, because I could barely sit. It hurt when I laid down at night, just constant pain now in my hips.
Wow.
So I have the hip surgery, September 28th, 2015. I have the surgery. A routine. The doctor's done this a million times. Every one of them a success. Nothing bad ever happens. I wake up and the doctor comes, and I couldn't move, but I figured that was because of the drugs. Right. I figured, okay, I've just been through this trauma. They've given me all this pain medication.
And wait a minute, when you said you couldn't move, you mean like you couldn't move your legs, or you couldn't move your...
I'm sorry, yes, my right leg.
Oh, okay. Like, what? Okay, all right.
Had the right hip replaced, couldn't move my right leg. So I'm thinking it's just from the trauma and from the meds and stuff, and it's going to wear off, everything's fine. The next morning, my doctor shows up and she says, hey, have you been trying to wiggle your feet or anything like that through the night? I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, my right foot, I can't move it. And she says, well, I might have stretched your nerve during the surgery. And I said, and it was she just said it really casual, so I didn't really think it was a big deal.
Right.
I might have stretched your nerve during the surgery.
Okay.
I said, oh, okay.
All right. Is it going to stretch back?
Yeah, no explanation, nothing else said. So I said, okay. And so then, she says, so, I have all these appointments scheduled. You'll start coming to see me in my office regularly. And I said, okay, great. So during those visits, and I think the first 3 days after the surgery, I kept trying to work with this foot, and the pain set in. Nerve pain. There's nothing like nerve pain. It was excruciating. The first days after the surgery, after I went home.
How long did you have to endure nerve pain? Did it last a week, a month? How long?
Let's see. The last pain that I felt was in 2017.
My goodness.
From 2015, I started dealing with this pain.
And then in 2017.
And mind you, they said I would have this pain indefinitely, and I would just have to stay on medication for the rest of my life for this pain.
But not only the pain, you were dealing with the pain, but you lost function of your foot 4 times. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So that was the real deal. Was she didn't? I found out the next few weeks, I guess, of going to different doctors. She actually severed the nerve. My sciatic nerve was severed during the surgery.
Wow.
And that led to foot drop. So that means I have no control over my foot. It just it's floppy. I have a floppy foot.
Right.
No control over it. I don't feel anything from the knee down.
Still, or just then?
Then.
Okay.
But they told me it was permanent. This is supposed to be a permanent condition. 3 different doctors told me that this was going to be permanent. I was just going to have to live with the pain and medication for the rest of my life. Okay,
so hold up. You've gone through the cancers. Those you have no control. No one did that to you. It was just life. That just happened. But then now you have something that's done to you. Okay, so how did you respond to that?
I was never upset.
Wow.
I just wasn't. Wow. I don't know how that is.
Right.
Willie was upset.
I was getting ready to say, but was Willie upset?
He was upset for me. He was like, been through
enough.
All of this stuff. Right. And now this lady has paralyzed.
Right.
And, just because he loves me. And he didn't want to go through another thing.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so now you can't move. Your foot's basically paralyzed?
Paralyzed.
Yeah,
paralyzed.
So you had no function. You got pain in your leg. So what happens? What happens next?
So let me see. I had to have another surgery, an exploratory surgery, to see if they could do anything to this. So the third person confirmed, no, it's just going to be like that now.
Well, we don't have to go into the details of it, but when did you, it all came back. That's the point. You're walking now. Not only are you walking, you're hiking.
I'm hiking. I did a 5K. I walked and ran a 5K. But it was that first year of after this happened. I think a determination set in. This can't happen.
Right.
This can't happen. This foot is going to work again.
Right.
By this time, my relationship with the Lord is just, I'm just talking to Him about everything. God, you fixed everything else. I know you can fix this too.
Right.
So I'm just gonna
never questioning whether He could or if He would.
No.
Never. No. Wow.
I know He's gonna fix this too.
Wow.
And then let me mention this before I tell you what He did for this. In 2016, I still had a left hip that still needed to be replaced.
Right.
So this has happened to me, and I nothing can go wrong. But then this happens, I'm paralyzed,
right.
And I still have to get back on the operating table and get
this surgery again. Were you afraid?
What? I was not.
Okay.
I was not, and I went back to the same surgeon.
The one that severed your nerve?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm just gonna say it for the rest of the people. Are you crazy?
I've been asked that a lot of times.
Oh my gosh! Did you want her to make it what? Where you had 2 legs? What? Oh my goodness!
I know. You know what?
You know what? The Lord would have had to send an angel to stand in my room and tell me to let her operate on me again. That would have had to been Jesus.
You know what? My rationale for going back to that same doctor was, hey, this lady knows what's going on. She knows what to expect now with me. And she had explained to me that during that hip surgery, the getting down to the bone where she had to cut was difficult. And she explained all this stuff, and it was ultimately because of the cancer treatments that I had. So it was an unusual thing for her.
Right.
So my thought was, if I go to somebody else,
they have to try to figure it out.
Too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You would.
this lady knows what she's dealing with me already.
Goodness.
There's no way she felt so bad. There's no way in the world she's going to mess up again. That was my thought.
Yeah.
I'm going to get this right the next time.
Okay.
So I went back to the same lady almost to the day, September 29th, 2016, and I let her replace my left hip.
So please tell me she got it right.
She got it right. No problems at all. I barely remember recovering from the other surgery because I was still dealing with
the other side,
on the right side. So yeah. So after the left hip got replaced, my husband and my children got together and surprised me with a brace, a foot brace, an AFO, and it helped. I started walking again the same day, and drive because I wasn't able to drive because my foot was paralyzed. My driving, so I started driving again that same day that they gave me this brace and all that. Yeah.
And so you're back.
I'm back. I started I wasn't going to let myself be depressed about my leg. So I started walking all the time. Just for physical therapy, I started walking all the time. And then started hiking. And then I started jogging. And I discovered my love for hiking now. And yeah.
So you still use the AFO and you're doing all of those things.
Right.
Wow. Well, I know exactly what an AFO is, and wow.
And in 2017, I was just sitting on my bed. I don't even know where we were. I don't remember. I think we were just watching TV one night, and I was wiggling. I don't know if there was music playing or what, but I noticed I was tapping my foot.
The one with the one that's paralyzed. You were tapping your foot.
Yes, ma'am. The one that I'm not supposed to be able to
move
use ever again, and all that. I didn't have my brace on, didn't have my shoes on, nothing.
And you're tapping your foot.
Going up
and down.
I was like,
goodness.
So he's healed that too. I still wear it because my foot is not strong. There was lots of muscle wasting with it being paralyzed, and so it's weak, but my foot is moving.
So for the person that's meeting all these challenges and they're saying, you know, I just cannot get through it, especially now, you know, with everything that's going on, like in the world and what's going on, you know, with the virus and all of this stuff. You know, people have lost their jobs. I was watching an interview today about how the numbers have gone up for not only just abuse, but addictions. So people who were struggling with addictions, who were being treated, now they're struggling. You know, if you were drinking, they're drinking more. If they're doing pills or drugs, they're doing it more, you know, and going through all of what we've gone through as a country, as a nation. Those that had those propensities to these various things, now it is like almost at pandemic, you know, proportion on that level. And but yet and still, here you are, and you're giving this list of things that you have gone through, and it's not something that you made up. It's not in your head. These are actual accounts of battles that you have had to fight and have won. What would you say to those who just feel like they are flailing just all over the place and they want to give up? What would you say to that person?
Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus.
Yeah.
If you don't know him, now is the time to get to know him.
Yeah.
Loves you. He wants to heal you. He's right there with you. Going through, he's there every step of the way, just like he has been with me for the last 20 years that I've been going through this stuff. There were times where I wanted to give up. I had time.
Yeah.
Even after he had healed me miraculously, I had my moments where I was like, I'm sick of this. I can't take anymore. I can't do anymore. I don't want to. It's not fair. It's not just why.
I'm glad you said that, because that's a part of it. You know, you're winning, and then in the midst of winning, it's so hard to be able to press through, that those are very natural emotions, where you're just saying, I'm just tired of fighting this battle. I remember once asking the Lord, I said, can we do something different? Yeah, don't ask him that one, because there's a plethora of different things that you could endure. So now, it's just like you just ask the Lord to give you strength. Let me ask you this. Did it ever make you afraid of living? And what I mean, like, were you ever at the place where you're looking over your shoulder for the next shoe to drop? Or have you lived peaceably since, you're getting all of these things? And maybe that's something too that I need to ask your husband. Do you live now, really live, or are you looking over your shoulder? What's going to come next?
I don't ever think about what if the cancer comes back? Mm-hmm. What if this? I really don't.
You just live.
I really don't. I'm just happy to be here.
Wow.
I really am.
Wow.
Yeah, it's my God helps me get through this every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. I'm just grateful.
Right. And you're not taking any treatments or anything. Like, you're just living a normal life. Wow.
I don't even, and it's probably not a good thing, I don't even go back for those checkups to MD Anderson where they say,
you know what, I don't even want to talk to you about not going back to those checkups. Now, look, there's faith, and we got to use wisdom too, though, right?
When I left in 2007,
you said, forget it. God's done it. I'm out.
I'm healed. He did it.
Bye. Hey, right?
I've been back.
Okay. I don't even know what to say. Amen. Praise God. Praise God. Oh, Valerie. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. You know what? On that note, where is your husband?
He'll tell you just how hard-headed I am.
Oh, my goodness. Girl. Hi, Willie. How are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. You got an incredible woman right there. I know I don't have to tell you that. You know it. Yes. Yes.
Incredible journey.
Yeah, it has been. So while you're watching all these things play out, especially the first diagnosis when she was only given a couple of months to live, literally 2 months, I can imagine what your response was. But how did you muster up the strength to be able to be that support system that your wife needed?
Well, first I had to give the glory to God.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because, as she mentioned, my whole family has gone through some things with my brothers and sisters had sickle cell. Mm-hmm. And I always tell her God had prepared me for that. And that's how we ended up together.
Wow.
With everything my brothers had went through and my sisters, I had to be there for my older brother, which I'm the baby. Uh-huh. And I had to donate some of my cells to him when he was going through sickle cell.
Oh, wow.
And so when she was diagnosed with the cancer, mm-hmm. God has put a spirit in me to, she can tell you, it's probably, she used to get upset with it, but I think she's okay with it now. A spirit to not get upset about anything.
Okay.
I mean, really, it takes a lot to get me upset.
Oh, wow.
And I do get upset, and I'm only saying this because she said it.
Right.
And then I heard a friend tell me that it must have been really bad, or it must have been really legit.
Right.
Because they haven't seen me get upset. Mm-hmm. So when she was going through all this, I felt really bad that it happened to her. Uh-huh. And she was so young, healthy. We did a whole lot of activity before anything happened. Mm-hmm. And we were at the gym when she was, we were on the treadmill and she was next to me and she couldn't take it no more. Her body was itching so bad.
Wow.
And so I, from that moment on, I felt so bad. I just felt like I had to be there no matter what. No matter what she's going through, no matter what we're going through, we're one.
Wow. How long have you guys been together?
Oh my gosh.
29, no.
Y'all like, whoa, what was it? How long? I don't know. 100 years.
Years, yeah. 29 years in November.
Wow. Tell you what, it feels like forever. And we talk a lot. We talk about just the closest that we have. We're together 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ask us, how do we do that?
Yeah.
And we tell them it's, with the strength of God and forgiveness.
Right.
And so when I found out she had all this and all this was going on, I thought about her and also thought about the kids. I never thought about, oh man, not gonna have my wife.
Right.
I'm gonna have to do this by myself. I never thought about that.
You're thinking about your babies and thinking about your wife. Yeah.
But I know, just like she said, we dedicated our life to God later on in life. But I grew up in church, and I always knew who God was. I just didn't have the relationship.
Yes.
So I knew that God wasn't going to let her die.
Wow.
And I knew that she was a strong woman. And once she hears something, once she got something set in her mind, it's hard to get that thought out of her head. And once they told her, they prayed for her church, and she said, I'm healed. And I said, oh.
Okay. They said, she's healed. Oh, okay. That we still need to go to the doctor, but okay.
But she had to get real with me and say another word. She said, I'm here. She said, I'm not going to die from this.
Right.
And that's what I knew. Then she was serious about what she said.
Wow.
And so the whole time we're going through treatments at MD Anderson, after everything was over, we had to go back like once a week actually it was like 3 or 4 times a week. And we're in the bed laughing and talking, and the nurses would come around saying, what are y'all laughing about?
Wow.
While she was going through certain recovery, photophoresis, certain recovery.
Wow.
And it was just, I just knew God was going to take care of everything.
Wow.
And I try not to let things bother me or upset me, because I know that doesn't change things.
Right. And I know that in those situations like that, the doctors are really direct. And so they don't don't try to make it easy for you to hear what their opinions and views or their medical expert opinions, on where you are. So they're just right, kind of just in your face. This is it. And still you guys are standing and still trusting and believing, that she's gonna make it through. She was gonna make it through. Did I read somewhere that you have scleroderma?
I do.
You do?
I do. It's you can see it in my hands. I can't straighten my fingers all the way out, and they hurt almost 24/7.
And is that from? Is that a side effect?
Yes, of the treatment.
Really?
Yes. So I'm suffering with this since about 2005, I guess. And they're just, my tendons and joints, they're just kind of, and muscles, they're doing this. They're tightening up like this. So yeah, I just deal with it. Deal with it.
Wow.
Doesn't keep me from doing it.
Well, I have to say that she, I tell people all the time that I know she's in pain that I don't even know she's in.
Right.
And she might not bring it up to me.
Right.
But she only brings it up when she can't take it anymore.
Wow.
And she'll tell, she'll talk about it or tell me, but she's always trying to, let's go do this and let's go do that. And I'm the one that she has to correct me. I'm the one that says, what about your leg? She said, don't worry about my leg.
Right.
And, but I know she's in pain a lot of times, and she don't even talk. She don't even bring it up.
Even just the way you just how you look, absolutely, beautiful. And when I read that, I was saying scleroderma, someone who knows what scleroderma is, like there is, that in itself is a miracle. Like I said, maybe I didn't read that right. Maybe she said something else, but yeah, I've had a couple of people in my life that have had scleroderma. And so I know how difficult that journey in itself could be. But you're saying like from 2005, I think you're gonna be all right. What you think?
I'm gonna be just fine.
And she's not telling half the story. It's so much stuff that she's leaving out, and that is just, she was a diabetic at one time.
Wow.
And we thought that was gonna, we didn't know if that was gonna be a permanent thing.
Wow.
And it was.
God heal you.
It was from medication.
But what keeps us together is we both have forgiveness in our heart, and for each other. And when something happens, we know that with God, we can, as long as we're together, we're good, and God's in the middle of our relationship.
Well, I tell you what, Valerie, how blessed you are to have someone to be able to do this journey with you. There are a lot of people that when they hear these things, that's, these going through situations like you've gone through medically, they bail, they leave. It's too big, it's too hard. I'm afraid that, it's not going to, play out, and I can't bear that. I watched a situation kind of like that where the young man, he just never really came around because he said it was just too hard. And my thought was, if it's hard for you, can you imagine how hard it is for her? And so just to have Willie here fighting with you is just a blessing and a miracle in itself, because literally there are a lot of people that bail, whether it's the wife or the husband. They just don't hang around. It's that, it's too hard. I've never heard that. I've never understood that one. Like, if I can get through it, surely you should be able to get through it. But there's so many that have not. Well, look, guys, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity to have had you on the show, to share what God has done for you. I'm glad that we were able to just talk about it, like really just, it's God. It's not like, I really was meditating and poof, it happened. No, God showed up for me. I wasn't perfect. He loved me in spite of what I was doing, and because he had purpose and plan for my life. This won't be the last time, though, Valerie, that I want to get to talk to you. I really would love for things to clear up and we can have a sit down. There's a few other ladies who have battled like you have and are doing great works, for God. And I believe that when our journey is difficult, it is a part of an assignment that has not yet fully been revealed of what God is trying to do. And I just believe that when people hear this, that lives will be touched and they will be changed. You have a book that you're working on. Before I go, I want to be sure and put that out there. You're writing your story right now.
Yes, I am.
When are you expecting to release your book?
I don't know. Gosh, I've been working on it for a while. I work on it and then I leave it, and I used to beat myself up about that and say, I really need to stick to this. But as things keep unfolding, I keep going through things. So there's just there've been more chapters added to the book over the years. So it wasn't fit.
I bet. And, you might have to do a part 1, part 2. You may have to do that.
You know what? I feel like it's finished now. I feel like there won't be anything else to add. I can tell my testimony.
Amen.
So soon, this year, this year it'll be out. It's called Trophy of God's Grace.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, I think I shared it with you before. I know a wonderful editing team, publishing team, and they are absolutely incredible. It's a group of women, and they're phenomenal. Remind me, I'll get you some information, and you would definitely love them. You would love them. They are amazing. But yeah, thank you guys again. Thank you so much. Thank you, Willie. I know this is not your thing, but you came on in here and did a great job, and I'll be looking forward to talking to you guys soon. For those of you who tuned in to Inspire, I know you've been inspired today, and so come back and check us out again. We have more inspiring stories to be told. Again, Valerie Burton and her husband, Willie Burton, we thank you guys so much. Everybody be blessed. I'll see you later.
We love you.
Thank you.